Just three ordinary guys trying to understand the crazy world around them. We don't have all the answers, but we've got all the questions. You're listening to Just Add Bourbon with Jimmy, JD, and Brad.
Welcome, everybody, to the Just Add Bourbon podcast. I'm Jimmy Don Kerr.
I'm Brad Broadus.
I'm JD Damon.
Guys, we're here together on a Sunday evening. We've got a special guest. I don't know if people realize this or not, but our intro song is a song called Me, Myself, and I. And it was co-written by our co-host, Brad Broadus, and our special guest today, Mr. Bobby James. How you doing, man?
I'm good, brother. Thanks for having me, fellas.
So Bobby is a country music artist. Travels around the country playing music. He's put out, how many albums you put out now?
It's my fifth project.
So your fifth project that you're working on now? Mm-hmm. And Bobby and Brad have been friends for a long time. So Brad, I'm going to turn this over to you and let you kind of give us a good introduction to Bobby.
Yeah, Bobby and I have been friends for what I would guess 25 years.
Probably.
Going back to the mid-90s.
Yeah.
And I actually had the privilege of kind of being with him at some of the beginning. You know, when he first hadn't been to Nashville real long, and I moved down there, and we were roommates for a while. And you talk about a blast. You know, we got to go to, he would go to a lot of these open mic nights, you know, and we went to the Bluebird Cafe and Douglas Corner and all kinds of places. It was a really cool scene, and especially for me, I get to go in there and see these guys and gals like Bobby that are up there just slaying the guitar, singing. It was a blast. You know, tonight we want to talk about your new project that you've got going on. I'm hoping that we can talk into maybe playing a few songs for us tonight. And guys, I know you all probably got a lot of questions.
No, like the only thing I want to say in introduction to Bobby is he seems like a really nice guy, but I do question his judgment of character. Seeing that you all were good friends and roommates.
Right. I wasn't going to say anything, JD, but, you know, I've always kind of wondered that, too. No, Bobby, I guess let's just start from the beginning. And I know JD had said it here, you know, as we were kind of getting ready to go, is kind of where did you start playing music? Have you played music your whole life?
Pretty much. I come from a musical family. I'm from Kentucky. So, let's see. If I think, my mom and dad played. As I was growing up, my dad was a front man in a lot of the top 40 country bands, and I'd go watch him play, and the bands would rehearse at, you know, the house. So I was always around it. So it was just bound to happen that I'd probably start playing music. So I'm trying to think. I grew up and played like in high school and at school. I'd take my guitar to school and play songs. I was even writing back in probably 7th and 8th grade, just writing songs and about what I knew at that, you know. So, I don't know. You start there and you kind of morph out. Then I started my first bands before I started college, and we learned all the Skynyrd songs and trying to learn everything note by note, you know, listen to the CDs, and I don't know.
So you was in high school in the late 90s, right?
Yeah.
So, like, who was your big influences? I know that grunge was a big thing at that time. You know, I was a big Nirvana fan, Bush, you know, those guys, Pearl Jam. But also, you know, country was hot at that time as well. You know, Garth Brooks, Travis Tritt, all those guys. So who was your, like, inspiration? Who inspired you to really decide to take music to the next level or to be an artist yourself?
Man, I started like Travis Tritt, Garth Brooks, the guys at Diamond Rio, all those 90s cats, man. I mean, the songwriting then, I loved everything about all those songs. And then Travis Tritt did a lot of acoustic stuff, so I was just playing my acoustic a lot back then. So I kind of gravitated towards that. And I don't know, I like the rock stuff too, man. I even like the Foo Fighters, Black Crowes. Well, I mean, I love all kinds. I mean, it all morphs together at some point. So the grunge, I like a little bit of here and there of the grunge. And I'm trying to think of anybody else. I mean, I love Skynyrd. Like, that's one of my biggest influences starting out. Like, with my first band, everybody's like, you know, I had a buddy of mine that played keyboard, so he was trying to learn all the keyboard parts. And there's 3 guitar players in the band, so I'm like learning all theirs. And, you know, you start finding all your heroes and guys you look up to. So,
sure.
But country, definitely.
I thought this was so cool when I was in high school, and I've been trying to play the guitar for about 25 years and still can't. But at this point, I actually thought at some point I might be able to. And so I had a cheap guitar, and Bobby came over, and y'all were just talking about Pearl Jam, and Yellow Ledbetter had just come out.
Yeah.
And I thought that is just the coolest song ever. And you may or may not remember this, but we were in my basement, and I said, man, you got to teach me how to play this song. And he wasn't familiar. He hadn't heard it yet. So I put in this CD, and I play it, and he's sitting there listening. And he said, start it over, and I started over. And then he's just sitting there hitting a couple notes. And then he's like, okay, start it over. Like the third time through, he's sitting there playing it. I was just amazed. I thought that was the coolest thing that I'd ever seen.
Well, I'll tell you my introduction to Bobby. First time I ever met Bobby was at Brad's bachelor party. And it was a pretty calm affair as far as it was at, where Brad and Tiff were living. And I had been pre-gaming off-site. So when I come in, I'm ready. I'm ready for the bachelor party. And I walk through the door, and everybody's sitting off in this room, and there's this guy sitting there with a guitar, and he is shredding an acoustic guitar. And the words that come to my mind, I will not repeat here today. But I was kind of like to the gist of, who is this? Because he was, and I've been around a lot of guys that can play music, and he was ripping that acoustic guitar like nobody I've ever seen. He was just shredding that thing, and I thought, okay, all right, we've got something here. And then so he just continued to play that night, and we got to know each other and had a ball. So, Bobby, I guess that leads me like, what, you were playing music in high school and things like that. Like, what inspired you to move on to Nashville? I mean, did you just decide, hey, I think I'm going to try to make a career out of this, and the place to go was Nashville?
Well, I mean, it's like, I guess, revisiting that, it's a big thought. I didn't know really what all that encompassed moving to Nashville. Everybody's got your preconceived ideas of what that looks like. So that started in one idea of like, well, that's Music City. I love country music. There's a lot of it there. It's a pretty good opportunity. I'm in the small pond, so that's really the big pond, I didn't have really an idea of what to expect. I think I'm thinking back, your cousin, when she was doing the entertainment law. Yeah. She had dropped off a book to me about songwriting. I'm just now remembering this. This is weird. But this is one of the catalysts to why I moved. I found out that you could make a living writing songs. And I've been doing this growing up, I just loved doing it. I didn't know, I couldn't wrap my mind about what that all meant. I love country and I love songwriting. I'm like, wow, you can make a living doing that? So she was telling me about, how, you go about that, different things. So I just took what I knew of the town, found a job, found an apartment, moved in, and just hit the ground running, man, just trying to figure it out.
So what does that mean, like hitting the ground running? Do you just start going to open mic nights, or do you try to hook up with like a record company and say, hey, I write songs? Like, kind of what's the business like as far as when you start out, like where do you even begin?
Man, I'm going to say it's different for everybody. And there's no cookie cutter approach. You just go. And if it's something that's driving you, you'll figure out the details of something. So like when I first moved to town, everybody's thinking about the record deal and these different things. That's great. That's good stuff. But you start with these ideas, and as you're in town longer, you meet people, you start playing gigs, you start the open mic nights like Brad was talking about. That was at least an outlet for me to perform some of my music. You show up, you sign up, and you have an audience to play your originals. You do comedy, right? So you do like open mic. It's an opportunity to share your craft, right?
Absolutely.
So, and it gives you a chance to work on your show and your presence and, a lot of stuff from that. But from that, you start meeting people and figuring out what other people's doing. Some people are there to do studio musicians. Some people want to be like a staff writer for a publisher. Some want the big record deal. Some people want to just play on the road. So it's like you get all these other ideas you never had before you move there. So you start, everybody's got a different idea. I've talked to other artists that's like doing what I'm doing. Everybody's doing something different. Everybody's got something they're trying to see if it pans out. So I don't know really what the answer is.
So like on this journey of yours, like I know a lot of people will go out and cover other people's songs though. Like they don't do all original stuff. So do you do original stuff? Like what's your...
Try to work it in there. So I'm still independent. So I'm a working musician. So,
sure.
But thankfully I'm blessed to where I've got enough venues. At this point, we'll talk about more how it got to this point. But I can schedule out and book and go work. So I'll work on the road. I'll schedule venues from about 6 months out. And I'll travel from Nashville. And it was like an acoustic tour that I would do and make a route down. It'd be like 3 or 4 weeks. You just kind of make it work. You know, you figure out the details. But
So your new project is called Waiting on a Train.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping you might want to play the title track for us.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Could you tell us a little bit about the story?
Mm.
Because this is an original song that
Sure.
you wrote, a little bit behind what it's about.
I guess to start out, I wrote it with a friend of mine, Kenzie Rose. She's another artist in Nashville. She tours a lot overseas, like in Norway and other places. And she plays on Broadway just like I had. I played in Broadway for a long time. And that's some of those connections I was saying. So you meet other people, you start co-writing with people and trying to knock out these songs.
When you say Broadway, is that, it's not like Broadway in New York.
Oh, it's downtown Nashville.
It's downtown Nashville. And so
kind of known as Lower Broadway, yeah.
Okay, so that's just where all the bars are, where you go do the open mics,
Yep,
where you play,
Tootsies and all that stuff. And, yeah, bounce in and out. You got bands everywhere. So
I've got through out Tootsies a couple of times.
yeah. Yeah, the city's booming too. I mean, that's kind of where you go if you've never been there. You'll go there, and that's your launching point. You'll find plenty of other stuff to do in Nashville. But so I played down there a long time with Kenzie. Not with her, but we were around the same people. We was playing gigs. Started writing a little bit together. And came in, she tours quite a bit overseas, like I was saying. And what's funny is when we wrote this song, it was kind of based off of her experience. Because Waiting on a Train, they do a lot of that over there. That's how they commute and go different places. I'm not familiar with that. I'm a Kentucky boy. I mean, I drive and go, a different route. So we kind of pulled from her thoughts on that. And I just had the title, man. I just liked the idea. And I had like an idea of a video of sitting at a train station and you just, people watch. So everybody's doing something different. Everybody's at a different point in their life. You got people sending somebody off to the military. You got people that's joining back up that haven't seen each other in a while. People are coming and going. And they're doing life right there and you're witnessing all of it. But yet, you're still sitting there waiting on your train to show up. And that's kind of how I feel like in my musical journey. You keep marking things off the list and trying things, and it's like, just waiting on your train to show up, you know what I'm saying? And it's kind of here, man. A lot of people's looking at you like, what are you doing? Like, dude, I'm trying to figure it out.
So you were talking about the songwriting process and how you wrote Waiting on a Train. Is it different? Like, I've always wondered for people who write, because I don't have a creative bone in my body when it comes to, things like writing a song. But what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Does the riff come first? Does the lyrics come first? Is it both? Is it neither? Do you have to have inspiration? Is it, what? I'm sure there's 1,000 different ways to write a song.
Sure.
But like for you, what's that process like?
I'm trying to think through that. I've written songs so many different ways. Sometimes, man, you got your phone, right? So you get an idea, and if you don't put it down, it's gone. You know what I'm saying? You probably understand what I'm talking about, right?
Exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
So my phone is filled with maybe just humming a chorus, maybe have a line. At least I've got it captured for when I have a moment when I'm sitting around with my guitar. Sometimes if I don't have any ideas coming, I can just sit there and thumb through. And whatever happens at that time, if I'm going through some things or seeing some things, it'll make a lot more sense to me what I can write with it. But I have something to start with. Because, it keeps you from the writer's block kind of thing. So you can't kind of capture all your ideas. I'm always playing my guitar. So a lot of mine probably center around a riff or a melody and probably a hook line. Some people start at the beginning and start writing it all the way through. But sometimes I've done that and I'm feeling really good about the song. Then I got to find a hook that brings it all together. I can't come up with a hook. So I got all this good stuff. And I can't find a way to tie it all together. So everybody does it different, though. But co-writing, though, you have more idea. Like we're all sitting in a room. There's a lot more opportunities to finish a song because you got more ideas coming.
Yeah.
So, because you will see that on a CD or whatever. You'll see, there'll be maybe 3 or 4 different writers. So,
right.
And I imagine that has to be a little different, sitting in a room with 3 to 4 people. Is it
Yeah.
harder from the standpoint of your, does it make you, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like, not less creative, but are you afraid to say something because you think it'll be stupid?
More reserved. That can happen.
Well, I mean, and I'm sure a lot of times people bounce an idea off you and give their creative input. It's like, that's not really the direction I want to go in.
Sure.
So yeah. Well, I'm ready to hear a song, man. Y'all ready to hear a song?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's break it down.
Let's do one, man.
So we're going to do...
we'll do the title track.
Train?
Yeah. All right. Waiting on the train. Here we go.
Right behind the home interior. Right.
Some are young, some are old, some goodbyes, some hellos. It's just a matter of time. The next one's gonna be mine. I'm just waiting on a train, watching everybody, wondering where they're coming from, where they're gonna go. I'm just sitting at the station, thinking about the ones I could have taken. I know I'm not where I wanna be, so don't mind me, I'm just waiting on a train. Letting go, holding on, done it all, and still going strong. Yeah, been on the wrong track, but I'm not gonna look back. I'm just waiting on a train, watching everybody, wondering where they're coming from and where they're gonna go. I'm just sitting at a station, thinking about the ones I could have taken. Though I know I'm not where I wanna be, so don't mind me, I'm just waiting on a train. I'm just waiting on a train, watching everybody, wondering where they're coming from, where they're gonna go. I'm just sitting at the station, thinking about the ones I could have taken. I know I'm not where I wanna be, so don't mind me, I'm just waiting on the train. Don't mind me, just waiting on the train. Yeah.
I mean, if can you do better than that, that's pretty good. Now look, there's some people who can play guitar. There's some people who can play guitar. And I think you know which one this cat is.
Awesome, man.
So that was Waiting on a Train, the title track off Bobby's new album. When's your new album coming out, Bobby?
We're hoping the end of January. Still in the process of finishing up a few things on it, but yeah, probably.
That was awesome.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, that was great. I told Bobby last night, I see Bobby every once in a while when he comes up and visits Brad, but I told him, and I mean this, I listen to a ton of music, and I listen to Bobby all the time. Bobby, if you just like good kind of rhythm, kind of soulful music, Bobby's your ticket, because, I mean, it's just a good listen. All the albums are. The first one's Me, Myself, and I. Like I said, that's the title track.
Yeah.
That's our intro song.
It is.
And that's a good album. That was the first one, and then Bobby did bring us all kinds of cool swag. So suckers. But so kind of on with the interview as far as I think everybody listening, I know everybody's sitting in this room. I mean, Ashton told me this the other day. I mean, not the other day. She's 13 now, probably when she was 7, 8 years old. You know, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
And she would say a rock star. And I'd say everybody has probably said that at some point. I want to be a country music star. I want to be a rock star. And I know that it's not that, you know, as far as nobody just shows up in Nashville and all of a sudden they blow up.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about what the grind is like as far as, you know, when you showed up in Nashville, you started writing, you're hustling.
Yeah.
You know, you're going out and playing gigs. Now you're traveling. You're a traveling musician. You actually get paid to do it.
Yeah.
So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about what it's like to actually be a musician.
Well, I'm trying. It's a broad subject. So if you're talking about just working in Nashville, if you're playing downtown or whatever you're doing, networking's key about anything, right? I mean, that's the business. That's any business. So I mean, all of that's about that. So once you start getting in the pocket of people, it's a pretty small community. Everybody knows everybody. So if I was playing on Broadway, right? So if I'm playing a gig, and I get the gig myself, but I need my band, right? So all the networking you do, you know a bunch of drummers, you know a bunch of guitar players. You start running down your list of guys because you have a gig, right? So that's kind of how it works. I mean, you keep getting those gigs and just keep networking, and depending on what you want to do, you just kind of branch out. Now, I'm a songwriter, so playing covers like you're talking about, I'm playing all the songs I grew up loving, but I still need an outlet for my music. So then you start looking about, how do I do that? So that kind of led me to play on the road. So I get to introduce more of my music that way, along with covers. I play a ton of I love covers because they influenced my music, you know, Travis Tritt and all that stuff. So you got to find a way to start getting an outlet so people can hear your music. Thank goodness for independent artists, you got platforms like YouTube and iTunes and Spotify, all this stuff. So, you know, you got a pretty good opportunity for that.
So let's say I want to become a country music singer. Like, what's the biggest obstacle that you found, you know, being in Nashville? Is it actually getting into the network? Is it, what can hold a person back, I guess, is the question. You know?
I mean, I think if I look back at the time that I've spent there, all of it's been wonderful. I mean, I've learned so much. I wish I could have dialed in what I'm trying to accomplish, because meaning, what is success for me? Yeah. So if you're not careful what that is, you're going to limit your success. Well, I have to have this happen or it's all been a waste. And that's kind of a defeating kind of idea, because there's a lot of ways to be successful. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you're doing something you love for a living, number one, whatever it is, that's success to anybody's book. You know what I'm saying? You want to clock in and do something you hate all the time. Some of us have to do that. Yeah. I've done that for a long time. I'm just thankful to get to do that. You know, get to play music for a living. But as far as like the biggest obstacle, I think once you dial into what you're interested in, depending on what you're doing, are you a singer? Are you a songwriter? Are you a guitar player? I mean, if I put myself in the mindset of just like playing a guitar or drums, I would love to play for an artist, right? So I could play in a big stadium, and I see some buddies of mine used to play in downtown. They're all playing with artists. And they post like Instagram pics of all the stadiums and stuff. I'm like, you're happy for them, because it's a hard break to get. There's only so many slots.
Right.
And it's like, I mean, that's success, you know, it's good.
So that leads me to the next question is, what is success to Bobby James?
Man, that's a good question. I have to keep reevaluating it, to be honest with you. Yeah. Like, if I'm just honest with myself, it started out one way in success. Right. Now it's totally different. Right. So when I started, before, like I said, dialing back before I moved to Nashville, I had these preconceived ideas of what that looks like. Like anybody would. I mean, if you've never been there, you see all your heroes. Oh, you like my hero.
It's Tim McGraw.
Right. Yeah. Why not? And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, shoot for whatever. But once you get dialed in, you start seeing different things and what matches up with who you are. Then you got to figure out, well, who am I? Am I an artist? Am I just a musician, which is fine too? Don't want to play in a studio, start playing on big hit records and get that. There's a whole other network of networking there. Do I want to be involved in the other part of music, the business part of it, which I know nothing about that area, because I'm independent. There's just so much. I think, like for myself, I I'm really surprised the platform that independent artists have now. There is a lot you can do. And I'm wired this way to figure out the details. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're a comedian, right? So you got a certain route. There's things you got to figure out in order to get that platform. You got to show up. You got to work on your show. You got to do stuff, right?
Yeah.
You all doing this podcast. I'm sure it's different now. 17 episodes or just 18 or whatever. It's different than when you first started. You had an idea. And that's kind of changed, right?
Yeah, for sure.
To dial in, I know I'm bouncing around a lot. I got to be pliable because it changes a lot. I love song. I'm glad to have, like, I'm recording my 5th album independently. That's a lot of work, a lot of money, a lot of figuring out the details because I'm the only employee here at Bobby James Inc. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta learn about things that I would rather not worry about. I would rather just play my songs. You gotta learn about marketing, merchandising, booking, logistics, how you're gonna get there. Because at the end of the day, you have to make a living.
Right.
So I don't even know if I answered your question. I don't think I did.
You absolutely did not, but
I didn't, did I?
No, that was a good answer.
I think it's independent. I get that.
I understand that.
As I've learned, and now that I'm dialing in more about independent artists, I've got so many opportunities. I want to exhaust those.
Right.
You know, you see a lot now of independent artists getting famous, going that route, and it seems to me like a lot of this. The prestige of signing with certain labels is you get the prestige of it, but you're almost a slave in the sense you have to be where they want you to be. You've got to do, right. You can only say what, you have to worry about all those things. And as an independent artist, you're able to make a decent living doing what you're doing, doing what you love to do. And I would just think there would be a whole lot of freedom in that.
There is.
Does it ever scare you to think if you decided to go the other direction, or if you went to one of the labels as a songwriter, is that a concern of losing some of that freedom?
That's a good question. I think there's pros and cons to both because obviously going that route, you got a bigger platform. There's a give and take. But like in my mindset too, of like, as far as money drives things, right? So if you got the money, it can get more exposure, more outlets for your music. So as an independent, you have to really think about, how do I get this accomplished? So if, like you're saying, being beholden to somebody, well, they're figuring out a lot of details for you that you don't have to figure out.
Yeah,
there's probably a cost to that.
That's what I was going to say.
Right?
I think that the label part is probably you are now in the machine, which is the marketing.
Yeah.
They market. They've got radio.
Sure.
You're going to get airplay. You don't have to worry about merch. You don't have to worry about anything.
It's all in-house.
Literally right, go play your music.
Mm-hmm.
But I think from an independent standpoint, I think there's it's almost a romantic to be able to do your own thing.
Well, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Bobby, but like,
I probably don't know.
but no, if I'm with the label, he says you got to go to California next week.
Yeah.
Then you got to go to California next week.
Right.
As an independent, I'm like, no. I just assume not go to California next week.
What's the problem? Yeah.
Stay on the East Coast, Thanksgiving's coming up. I'd rather be in Kentucky,
Right.
And so I guess there's a trade-off, We just look like there is with everything.
I've always wondered why, like this area in Kentucky, we have so many musicians, so many excellent musicians.
Yeah.
You wonder why that is.
You think about it. You've got Loretta Lynn, Crystal Gale, Dwight Yoakam, Ricky Skaggs. Now, most recently, you've got Tyler Childers in Louisiana. You've got a Martin County girl, Angelina Presley, that just got nominated.
Her sign's right across the road.
Yeah,
from
literally.
the
Colorado is right across from where
you got Chris Stapleton from Johnson County.
Yeah.
We got Bobby on here with us tonight. You've got all of these people in Kentucky. You just wonder, why do so many people come from this area? I wonder, is that
I think it's the culture, man. I don't know about you guys, but everybody's probably got somebody in their family that plays music. And I just grew up, that's what we done, man. It's a different time then. We don't have all the social media and stuff going on, but that's kind of how we hung out. Right. Porch picking, singing, playing. You wasn't really trying to pursue something, just kind of how y'all hung out. And I grew up that way.
So I've got a question. This is going to kind of shift gears just a little bit. But, I've kind of been with you since the genesis of this, and the lifestyle that you lived when you first started in the music industry
Right.
is way different than the lifestyle that you live now.
Right.
And I was just wondering if you don't care to share with us kind of the progression as a musician going into Nashville, being maybe partaking in a few alcoholic beverages. And I only know that because I heard that, not because I was with you at the time, so I'll clear that up.
Yeah.
But just kind of tell us about that part of your journey.
Well, I mean, I think you brought up about the rock star lifestyle or whatever. I think, man, when I look back, when I started playing music, it was a tool for me to interact with people, and it was great. That kind of will morph itself out into different areas. So as I look back, the reasons why I was doing what I was doing are different than now. So I look back and we may take a long way around right here if you don't mind, but this kind of interwoven with like my walk, my faith. So from the culture that we come from, I mean, I grew up in the church. I'm fortunate to have a wonderful family, and I'm truly thankful for that. Mom and Dad and my sister, everybody's been wonderful. There's probably a time in my life that I became disenchanted with what I understood, right? And it's probably that rebellious age along with that. But coupled with that, along with music, took me another route of just doing my own thing, right? So I'd say about 10 years ago, man, it's hard to believe it's been that long, but 10 years ago, so it seemed like I was heading in a direction of just doing things my own way, figuring it out, and music was an opportunity to fill all of those voids. I was exposed to whatever I want. So when I think back, when I'm playing at this venue, I would fly down and play, and then as I got involved playing down there for a long time, if I fast forward through a lot of details to keep this short, I woke up passed out in the hallway, guitar sitting there, had my bag sitting here, and I'm just passed out in the hallway, right?
So you're talking about the hallway like inside of a nice hotel, or you talking about
there's a condo area. Yeah. So, and I'm just being honest because this is part of my story, and you'll see that in my music too. Like, I began out this one way, and that's my mindset, right? So, as you fast forward, I reflect on a lot of this all the time. But, anyways, so I'm being kicked awake by a couple guys that I don't even know who these people are. So, as an intervention point in my life, I was really up for suggestions at that point, and I'm thankful that I could have a conversation with my dad, that he took that moment to speak a lot of truth in my life. And I revisited a lot of things that I grew up with as far as my faith. So that began a parallel journey with music and life in general. I felt like I was just starting from scratch. So I went home. I took about 6 months off. I had a friend of mine that was, he was battling leukemia at the time. So a lot of these things were like coming full circle. Like, when I'm revisiting this faith that I had as a child, I'm weighing it to the reality of where I'm at. I'm seeing somebody close to me in a different part of life that made me want to revisit everything with the honest questions that I had. And thankfully, I had parents that let me walk this walk, and they loved me through it, and they prayed for me. And I'm going off in the woods here for a minute, so I'll bring it back in a second. But so when I took that time off, I just started revisiting why I was doing music the way I was doing it. So after I took that much time off, I'd used up all my savings, and then an opportunity came open for me to get back playing. So I ended up, long story short, some opportunities opened up for me to go back out playing. And I'm just praying, man. I'm still trying to figure all this out. I just knew that where I was, I didn't want to go down that road anymore. So I really started revisiting my faith in Jesus and my thoughts about what wrapped around all of that and going deeper. And the more I understood that, it started coming out in my music a lot more, man. It just started like, sometimes when you're playing, you wonder like, man, it's just empty. I'm doing it, it's just not purposeful. So a lot of the songs I'm writing, man, they may not be a gospel message, but it's the truth about what I've been like. Waiting on a Train, well, I told you about that. A lot of it, I wish I could just write a song for somebody else to sing, but I always put myself in there. So a lot of this stuff is stuff that I've struggled with in my life, you know. So I say bringing it full circle, before music, when music brought me to Nashville, it was for this certain reason. And there's nothing wrong with that. I was trying to figure it out. But it's weird how like in the middle of all of it, it just changed direction. So when I'm playing on the road, now I've met so many people, had not some doors closed and not been up for this idea. I know more people in Florida, I know anywhere else. And I've met and they objectively buy into my music. And I have no history with these people. So if they like it, they like it. They know my song, they know the words. It's on a small platform. But man, like when y'all are out publicly and somebody mentions something about the podcast, it feels good, don't it?
Yeah.
It's an effort. It's a lot of work. But it's something you're passionate about, and to hear somebody get it, man, that feels good. So on a small scale, when I was focused on this being success, I'm on a journey now of figuring out what the reason I am playing. And I'm loving it. And it's like doors continue to open and close. I'm still in Nashville. Don't know if I'll be selling 1 million records or not or whatever, you know. But it's just different. And it's way more purposeful. You know what I'm saying?
So do you find it therapeutic as far as writing your words? And the reason I ask this is because it's saying this is just from the outside looking in, but it seemed like some of the songs that you wrote kind of during a transition period, where knowing you personally, you seemed like you were at a high point, but the songs were, you know, would kind of tug at you a little bit. And I just wondered, is that a way for you, an outlet to kind of get stuff out of your head?
Well, I'll say it's that. I know that my experiences aren't unique to me. I think everybody deals with things, you know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah, there's a transition period, like if you listen to like the first album and the second album. Hard Rain was an acoustic redoing of a lot of songs because I've been playing acoustic for a long time, you know what I'm saying? And so the people that I was meeting, they're hearing these songs as an acoustic version, so they're meeting me like that, not with a full produced studio sound, you know what I'm saying? So they were kind of looking for that. Then some other songs came through on that. So it kind of, if you take like Hard Rain, like I wrote that about my trips down to Florida. Dude, I've had doors open and I've had a ton close. But like, it all seems like it's been like direction because this was a distraction. I loved it. It benefited me. And I was kind of complacent though. So when that door closed, I was forced to go another direction, kind of figure this out, you know? So I don't know if that was what you was going for.
Bobby, I have a request.
Okay.
Will you play another song?
Yeah, I'll play another.
But I have a particular song.
Okay.
I want you to play. It's probably one of my favorites. It's called The Bottom. It's off the first album.
Yeah.
And if you'll do that, I'd sure appreciate it. I think people will dig it.
Well, man, I appreciate you asking for it, brother. So this would be a song about that reflection. Lately I'm just so tired of running away from things I thought I left behind. I'm so ashamed of how I've lost myself somewhere along the way. My eyes have gone blind from all the tears that I've cried in vain. It's a long way up from the bottom. If you ever make it this far down, I'm not afraid of It's the fear of never being found here at the bottom. I saw an old friend today. He's got a good job, a wife, a baby girl on the way. I wish that was me. Where I'm at right now ain't no place you wanna be. It's like I took a drive, watched my life just pass by with no second glance. It's a long way up from the bottom. If you ever make it this far down, I'm not afraid of being forgotten. It's the fear of never being found here at the bottom. Sometimes I just wanna scream at the top of my lungs, but no one's around. Just give me something real to hold on to. From you I'm falling, from you I'm falling down. It's a long way up from the bottom. If you ever make it this far down, I'm not afraid of being forgotten. It's the fear of never being found here at the bottom. The bottom. True story.
I love that song so much.
Thanks, brother.
I'm gonna say Bobby asked me to sing that song, but he done a pretty good job on it by himself.
Thank you, Jay.
So that was The Bottom. That was from Bobby's first album.
I'm glad you like
Myself.
that song, man.
I love that
That's cool,
song.
bro.
I love that
I
song
appreciate
so much.
it, man. I wrote that one by myself. I didn't even co-write that one. I was just one of them, it's more for me than anybody else, but that's cool it relates to other folks. Man.
Well, it does, and that's the thing. That's what's nice about music, man. Is you,
Especially country music.
you hear something and it relates, to your life, and you're like, man, I've been there.
That's what I'm saying. These experiences ain't unique to me. We all go through things, man. There's happy songs too. I mean, we all get happy too. So it's like,
So
Yep, no more near as fun to drink to.
So I want to jump back in on the business side a little bit.
Yeah, man. I'll try to give you the best I can on it.
Well, I'm a business guy, so I'm just kind of interested.
Yeah.
One is probably a stupid question, but I want to know.
I've got stupid answers, dude.
So, you talk about all these different paths, to stardom, I guess.
Yeah.
And, you see a lot of people go on the American Idol or The Voice, or I've seen some stuff on the CMT network. Have you ever considered doing anything like that, actually trying that route?
Man, I've had some people ask me about it, and it's not a dumb question. I mean, it's an avenue. I mean, that's what I'm saying. That stuff wasn't around before I went to Nashville. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's a recent phenomenon, pretty much, as far as people you don't have to even win the thing just to be on it. And you think about Daughtry and those. Did he even win? Did Daughtry win it?
No.
I don't think he did he?
No, he didn't.
And look what platform he got off of. I mean, he's done great.
Yeah.
He's still doing great. I really haven't. As I started going down this path of just playing gigs, I just kind of grew up that way, man. It's more natural for me to go that route. I'm not against the other route, or whatever other route. I mean, there's lots of ways.
So I know, I remember you telling stories about, especially when you were playing out places with a band, and I think what a lot of people don't understand is they just assume you've got a band and you've got the same 4 or 5 people that travel around. But in Nashville, from the way I understand it, you might have gigs 7 days a week and you might have 6 different drummers, right? Depending on how you schedule and whatnot.
Right.
So I can remember you talking about some of where you would, you come home and say, well, I'm supposed to play here and this drummer canceled on me and I'm supposed to be playing in 2 hours and I got to find somebody else.
Yeah.
So what was I'm just interested, one of the big horror stories where you were supposed to go play somewhere, or you're getting up on stage, or either you don't have the equipment you need, or somebody didn't show up to where it's go time and you're not prepared.
Man, that's like run of the mill, honestly. It's hard to really pick one. I mean, there's always something that happens. When you're dealing with that many people, it just happens. Playing downtown, like you're saying, I mean, you're playing, it's a community of folks. You got your singers, you got the guitar players, you got your drummers. So you got this list of people, and probably some use more than others. You have your consistent band that you use, but things happen. People get sick, cars break down, and then you have to find the fill-in. Well, everybody knows everybody. And usually, if it's a drummer or somebody, they'll call another drummer and help you out. So they help you figure it out. Most of the time.
That's something that has always amazed me, that you could call another musician that plays whatever instrument and they could show up to your gig and sit in and play lead guitar or play the drums and never played with. They just show up and they're like, okay, yeah, what are we playing this out of? Cool, I got it. And then just sit there and absolutely burn it up.
Man, I remember the first few gigs I played, I didn't even know everybody personally. I knew a guitar player. I'm like, man, I need a band. I got a gig. I don't know anybody. So he called some of his buddies. They showed up and never played with him before, ever. Counted it off and played 4 hours straight. That's what you do. So, here you kind of get your band together and you practice and you book gigs, but you practice and you rehearse.
So more kind of back to the business side. I know doing this podcast and trying to, the different platforms that you can put this out on. iTunes is obviously one of the biggest, and so and that's where I have downloaded all your music from, all your albums, and then I have all your albums too, actually. So I actually have the actual CD versions of all of them too, especially now.
Yeah, boy.
Double copies, so I'll be handing those to Chase so he can share those with his friends. Can you explain to me a little bit how iTunes works? Because to me, it seems like iTunes has probably changed the music industry as much as anything has. Yeah. Because you can go there and get any music that you want. Right. And I don't want to get into your finances and how you make money or anything like that, but can you kind of explain to me how it works? If you put an album out on iTunes and somebody downloads a song or they download your album, there's obviously 1,000 hands that go into that. Right. You do get a piece of that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. By the end of it. So if it's the last, you got 2, I don't know what you would call them. They would be a distributor, I would say, would be the right title. You got one that's called CD Baby, one called TuneCore, maybe some other ones out there. So when you make a project, you submit it to them, they get it to all the online retailers like Amazon, all those guys, Spotify, and they'll do it on your release date. So there's a cut there, probably. There's a cut, on all of those because that's your platform. There's a cost to that. I can't speak to a lot of the anything outside of being an independent artist, and obviously that helps to download your music. But as far as making, I don't know how to even say it. As far as there's a lot of hands in it. By the time you get it, it's not what you started out selling it for. So, but somebody that has record deals and stuff like that, that all plays out differently too. So I wouldn't be able to speak to that, though I don't know.
That is fairly interesting because we do something similar. I mean, we go, we always say at the end of the show, go to Podbean. And that's actually, when I was researching how to launch all of it, there's several different sites that you can go to and actually launch your podcast from. But that's where I upload it and it goes out to all the other places, where we show up, YouTube and Spotify and all those things. So it sounds like a similar kind of deal where you've got one place and it goes.
They're the hub
and it goes everywhere else. That makes sense. Okay.
So here's kind of what if question. I think might be interesting. If you was 19 again heading to Nashville, like what would you do differently than what you did starting out? Like if you was giving advice to somebody that wanted to be, a country music singer, like what would be the advice that you would give them?
If they're
Besides being more selective in your roommates.
And what podcast you're going to be on.
Man, that's a good question. I think that's an important question. I'll say it's probably one of the most, I wish I would have considered that. Just that whole question of what you're talking about, of like, what dial it in before you're heading there. Okay, you've made the decision to move there.
Right.
What are you trying to accomplish?
Right. Like, what is success to you?
What
right?
is it? Because if you don't watch, you're chasing what everybody else is doing. That may not be what you want to do. Right. And there's nothing wrong with all that. I mean, there's just a lot of options.
Sure.
So if you're a singer, you got to think, well, do I want to sing in the studio? Am I a writer? Do I write? I mean, there's a lot more irons in the fire than just probably one aspect of it.
Yeah, that makes all sense.
But I think, like, about the success, like you're talking about, figuring out what that is and being realistic in what you really want to do, because what you want to find out is if you're not hitting that, it's going to affect you to where you feel like you're wasting your time, and you're not. Right. You just got to figure out what you want to do, man. It's different for everybody.
Well, I mean, that's the great thing I think about art, right?
Yeah.
Is like, I feel like art is one of those industries, one of those callings, if you will, where success, if you write a song, Bobby, that gets a person off drugs or keeps a person from hanging himself, or that's a success story to me, man.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? That's why I think it's important, as a society. And here I may get political on you a little bit, but we keep engaging in artistic programs in our schools. We keep our bands alive.
Yeah.
We keep our art classes filled with the materials they need. And because success comes in a lot of different forms, especially.
I'll say that's a big thing, honestly, JD. Like the bottom. I mean, I'll be honest. Even this, I don't have a huge platform compared to a lot of folks, but. No, I was talking about the purpose a minute ago about my music and stuff. It's like, if it has to be about selling this much and doing this much, you don't realize the impact, because people can't express how they feel about things. And that's why they relate to music, because that taps into it. And countless people about the bottom, like, and I don't even know them. Like, dude, I'm just going to let you know that's how I felt.
Well, I mean, I've not heard the bottom before, but, I've been there. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you sing that song, I was like, man. Like, I know what that feels like. I've been there.
Well, I've always been one of those people that I just love music. And I relate to music. Right. And when I'm feeling down, a song will pick me up. And I know that's corny to say, but it's true. That I'll hear something, I might be down and there's a tune I'll go to.
Mm-hmm.
Me, Myself, and I is one of them that I'll go to. And I just love it, and it'll immediately lift my spirit.
Outside of writing a joke, I'm not artistic at all. I think a lot of people, like Bob Ross, enjoy painting. I used to love as a kid. A lot of people can look at a piece of blank paper and they see these trees, this forest, and these waterfalls. But I don't see that. I see a blank piece of paper. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So outside of writing a joke, I'm not artistic at all. So when I hear a song like The Bottom Man, that allows me to express how I feel through somebody else's words who's had those experiences that I've had. Like, it's a very powerful thing, man.
Man, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Bobby, have you ever, in your experiences in Nashville, have you ever worked with anybody or wrote a song with somebody or played with somebody that you were, maybe somebody that's played on your album, just anything, you're like, oh, wow.
Oh, that's great. I mean, like the first two albums when I was playing, a lot of the guys that are playing, they're session players. But that's their job. That's what they do, right?
Very talented people, though.
Right?
Sure.
Yeah, and they've played on people's, Brooks and Dunn or all these people, or, they play on all of their albums and they're playing on yours. And it's like, that's a pretty cool feeling, man. Yeah. And you're hanging out, networking, and then living there is a little bit different, whereas not living there. So it's actually an opportunity for people that are even more plugged into you. They're playing on your song, but they're listening to the words, and, it's another outlet. That's led to other writing with other folks that's had a little bit more success. My buddy Adam, like he was talking about, he's had success writing the Faith Hill song, and he still plays for a lot of artists, like on the road and stuff. But I'd have never met him had I not recorded my music. So doing that was an opportunity to meet some other people, and if they want to collaborate with you, then, they already hear you. Like, all right, I like that.
So really, it kind of seems like if you could go back to day one when you got in Nashville, I would say most people get there and they're focused on what am I going to do? Like, what am I going to do to make this happen? Yeah. When really, I guess the focus for somebody coming up and doing it now should be not me, who's everybody else, and what networking do I need to do?
Networking's huge, man. Anything. But, man, it's never been so evident besides living there. I mean, and it happens so fast. Dude, I remember like when I was first playing down on Broadway, you had your business cards. Probably not as popular now, but that's your Nashville handshake, son.
Right.
You get up and you play with the band, you sing, and, you meet everybody, thanks for jamming, everybody's like, hey, great job or whatever. Here's my card. You need a singer. Call me. Because everybody needs something, Right. It happens. People call out. Got that. I mean, it's business. So it makes sense to you. I mean.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, networking's everything.
And even at that level, I mean, it's all over.
It's everything. And, the business relationships that I have, I show up to places that I don't really like going so I can network.
Yeah.
And get to know somebody, and it generally helps. And, when you're telling anybody about business, that in sales, that's the number one thing is you got to network. And I'm one of those people we talk about all the time. Me and Brad do anyway. I'm a sales guy for a living, but I really am kind of a hermit once I get home. I don't really want to talk to anybody else. But you have to get out and do that, and that's interesting that it's the same way, even in that business. It's man. The same.
And every level. I'm assuming. I mean, it just goes from there. I mean, it's at every level. No matter what you've got to network, that's the only way you get anywhere.
So we're getting pretty close on time. Anybody got any other questions?
No, I just want to thank Bobby for being here, man, and give the insight on how the inner workings of Nashville. That was very insightful. Just appreciate you, man. Coming here and singing for us and playing the guitar, like that's pretty incredible, man. Really.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I'm a big fan. Have been ever since I met Bobby, and like I said, I just dig his music. And if you're listening to this and you just like good music, check Bobby out. You can find him on what? You can find you on what? iTunes?
iTunes, all the online retailers.
What's your? Do you have a website?
It's BobbyJamesMusic.net. So
you also see a pretty cool logo on there that Brad brought us. Actually,
yeah. Brad actually done my first logo, man. That's how far he done my first logo. I was trying to do merch and all this stuff, and so I started with that logo and kind of morphed out, but it's still in there.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't know by looking at him, but Brad's actually pretty artistic.
Oh, yeah.
And very sensitive.
Yeah. Whoa, now. What do you make? What? I feel like Jimmy just took a dig at Brad for no reason. Brad's over here being nice and kind.
That's what brother-in-laws do. But no, so go to Bobby's website, BobbyJamesMusic.com.
.net.
.net.
Had to go
.net. Yeah. .net. Check him out on iTunes,
Facebook, Instagram, Music Bobby James on there. YouTube as well.
YouTube. So Bobby's all over the place. Check him out. Like I said, you won't be sorry. I mean, really, like I said, if you just like good music, go check this guy out. You'll dig it.
So, if I don't know if we mentioned this before, but Bobby does our intro and our exit song.
Yeah.
So Bobby, you want to take us out?
Let's do it,
man. So we'll end it like this. Bobby's going to grab his guitar. And when you listen to this show every week, I know I said it at the beginning, but the intro song and the outro song, when the show ends, that's how I named it when I throw it in, when I produce it. It's called outro.
It's definitely not the exit song.
It's not. I mean, look, it's not my metrics, but it is. Nice. I say outro. But from myself, from Brad, from JD, and as we always end the show, no matter how bad your week's been, no matter how bad your day's going, if you just add bourbon, it always gets a little bit better. This is me, myself, and I. Take us home, Bobby James.
All right. Today I think I hit the road. Forget about all the things I know. It's just my time I've wasted. Looking up at the big blue sky, watching all the trees go by. So close to freedom, taste it. I ain't got much, but it's all mine. Just me, myself, and I. take the money left in the bank, and take the house and take the car. It's all the same, but now one thing's for sure, the sun will shine. I'll be getting by. Yeah, I'm just fine, but me, myself, and I. The landlord wants to rent, but it's already been spent. You can't squeeze a dollar from a dime. You've taken all I got to give. I'm just looking for a life you live. So leave me be, babe. I've done my time. I've done my time, babe. And I couldn't miss you if I tried. It's just me, myself, and I. Take the money left in the bank, and take the house and take the car. It's all the same, but now one thing's for sure, the sun will shine. I'll be getting by. I'm just fine. I'll be myself and I. I was on a dead-end road now. I'm hitting the highway. Don't know just where I go, but I'm gonna do it my way. So take the money left in the bank, baby, and take the house and take the car. It's all the same, but now one thing's for sure, the sun will shine. I'll be getting by. Yeah, I'm just fine. I'll be myself and I. Yeah, wave goodbye. To be myself and I. La da 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 dee da da. La da 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 dee da da. La da 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 dee da da dee da da dee da da. La da da dee da da. La da da dee da da. La da da dee da 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 dee da da.
Woo! Bobby James.
Yeah, boy.